Hey there. So, if you're an early career physio and you've ever had patients sit down in front of you and list three or four or even maybe six things going on with them, and you've thought to yourself, like, where do I even begin? Don't worry, that's happened to all of us. And right now, you may even be thinking like you're doing okay, like you're getting through the basics, you've got that down pat. But when things start to become a bit more complex, that's when you start to second guess yourself. And you've got your back to back clients, you've got your back to back patients going on, you are, like running off your feet, you are trying to help everyone in that day. And you get to the end of the day and you're just kind of drained. Like that is so normal. It shouldn't be, but it is. Um, and like some sessions they go well, some don't. Sometimes you'd you take that on yourself as well if someone hasn't progressed as well as you want them to. And if you're like being really honest with yourself, you've probably had the thought, I should be more confident than I am right now. And I think most physios think that they just need more experience, like, oh, I just need more years gathered. But if that was actually the case, then every physio after a good few years in the clinic would feel really confident with complex patients, would they not? And at the end of the day, that's not what I'm seeing in clinic in real life. So, yeah, with that being not the experience, I think it's not the experience so much as that we haven't been taught how to think through patients properly. And I mean, I remember um, being in clinic and having like eight patients deep, running well behind time, busting for the toilet, and a patient sits down in front of me and says like, I'm like, oh, how can I help you today? And they say, oh, I've got back pain, and I've also got my knee's been playing up lately. Oh, and if you have time, can you please look at my shoulder? And I just remember thinking like, "Oh, no, not another one," and not because I didn't care, but because I couldn't think clearly through things. Like I didn't quite know how to prioritize things. And yeah, things were still unclear to me. And I think over time, like that feeling just grew, right? Like session after session, patient after patient. I was working really hard, but I didn't actually feel confident, even with the hours and hours that built up, kind of thing. And yeah, I still felt like there was something missing. So yeah, fast forward, like I remember also, I'll never forget this actually. I was in clinic, I was getting sat down for my yearly performance review, and my boss said to me, I'll never forget, he said to me, Tara, you're doing so well. You're seeing so many patients. You're actually seeing more patients than any other clinician here, including me, and I'm the clinical director. But he said, but you're not rebooking people enough. You're not booking in repeat sessions enough. And I was just like, what? Really? Like, and he jokingly said to me, never forget this. He's like, ha ha ha, you're just not getting, sorry, ha ha ha, you're just getting people better too quickly. And I was like, what the actual? And I just thought to myself, like, it just didn't sit well with me. Like, I didn't become a physio to work on KPIs and keep rebooking people in unnecessarily, right? I became a physio because I care and I actually want to help people get better. So at the same time, like, I knew something was off. And even though I really did care, I just thought, at that time I wasn't quite, I want to feel more confident with complex patients, even a couple years deep into physio. And so what I actually did, I decided to go deeper, and I went back to uni and I did my postgrad masters. So I've got my titling in musculoskeletal and sports physio, so specializing in private practice. And let me tell you, it was pretty hectic. Hey, so we did that 2 years. I was working full time at the time in the clinic. I invested like over $30,000 to do the course. That was not an easy decision to make at all. And I just remember coming home after like a full day of work and then scoffing dinner and then getting stuck into assignments until like midnight. And that was just like on repeat. Like every weekend assignments or studying for exams, and then working full time, just juggling everything. It was a wild time. It was pretty hectic. Um, but yeah, I think what was a game changer for me, like what really surprised me throughout my masters, was the fact that it wasn't so much that they taught us more information, but it was that we refined things. So we refined the subjective, we refined the objective. We went much deeper. We went on a deeper level with things. So that's when it actually clicked for me that it's not so much about knowing more, but actually just finding the best way of how to think through your patients and who's sitting in front of you, right? I think when you find out the driver of the problem, it makes things so much clearer. So your subjective and objective becomes way more simple and clear. Your treatment becomes way more specific. Your patient really trusts you because they actually like feel that clarity coming from you. And that's really what it's all about, right? So I've developed this 2-day experience called the Aligned Physio, and I want to share with you an example of kind of like a clinical like case that we could go through, and just so that you understand the difference from like template foundation uni style clinical reasoning to more like high level yeah, titling, sports musculoskeletal thinking. So let's say a patient walks in and they've got shoulder pain. They say, "Yeah, I've got shoulder pain. It really hurts when I try and lift it above my head. It's really painful when I sleep on it." And this has been going on for like weeks or months type thing, right? Most physios at that point will do every shoulder test under the sun to try and get the clinical diagnosis of the label, right? What they end up doing is them coming up with some really non-specific label that's like impingement or bursitis. So that label doesn't actually explain what is driving the pain or why it started in the first place. So we do things a little bit differently. We kind of simplify it, but do things in a different way. So when we're not going to go through a checklist, where it's more like we're looking at the person that's in front of you. So getting really good on your observation skills, understanding what their day-to-day looks like is so important. Really honing in on your subjective to understand what their life looks like and what positions they're in, what postures they're in, what might be tight, what might be stiff. What else do we go over? I guess we also go over what's happening above and below the joint as well. So it's not just like focusing on a shoulder. It's like what's happening at neck, what's happening at thoracic, what's happening with the rotator cuff muscles. So really getting succinct and in a quick way on narrowing down the most obvious things. And then obviously I'll go through some objective tests, just, a few main ones that we could prioritize that really helps to, I guess, substantiate the diagnosis so that you know what's going on, and you know what's going on within the first 5 to 10 minutes, which, makes things so much smoother, right? And at the end of the day, I think you've got to realize that your treatment is only as good as your assessment. So if you get that down pat, if you get that right, then you start to realize that it's not just like a bursa problem, or like, oh, it's an impingement, a little bit of pinching here. It's like, it's bigger than that. It's like the shoulders being overloaded over time from them sitting at their desk, hunched over, looking like Gollum. It's their upper traps and rotator cuff muscles are lengthened. It's a biomechanical driver that has led to that pain in the first place. So instead of giving generic exercises, actually treat what you see. Fix the thing that you see as being so obvious in front of you. And that's when you actually gain confidence around being able to help anyone, like literally anyone that walks through that door. You know that you have the skills to help them in some way. So, in summary, we are addressing the driver and everything just becomes more simple. And you should actually watch their faces light up. They're so happy when you take away a majority of their pain in the first session from whatever specific treatment you choose. They're like, "Oh my God, this actually works." And you can joke and be like, "Yeah, physio does actually work." It feels really, really good when you can do that, right? And I think they finally understand what's going on because you can explain it to them in simple terms as well, they trust you more. And then when you suggest the next step, which is to book in, they naturally say, "Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'd love for you to progress me next week." And so that that is gold right there. Like, you walk away from the session feeling clear, feeling confident, you feel good about what you've done. And instead of just treating a label, we've actually treated the root cause, the cause of the driver, the pain in the first place. Okay, so now I'd like to go over what I'm covering, focusing on over the 2 days. So, day one, it's really about getting clarity. I've just got a list here of what I'm going to go over. How to handle complex patients without feeling overwhelmed, how to walk into a session where someone lists multiple issues and actually narrow it down. That's really important. And making sure, we're focusing on what matters most in that one session, right? How to stop chasing symptoms and start seeing patterns. So I'm going to be talking about the normal patterns that I've seen and witnessed over the last 15 plus years. So that will be very helpful. Day two, we then take that clarity and we move it more into action, right? So we're going to work on how to prioritize treatment. So you're not just trying to fix everything at once. How to give rehab that your patients actually follow, like they actually know the why of the driver. So then they understand why they actually have to do the damn exercises. I know that's been an issue for a lot of physios over many years as well. How to communicate so they actually trust what you're doing. That's key. If they don't trust you, you got nothing. And throughout it, we'll go over real patient cases step by step to obviously help you see how it actually works in practice. So yeah, instead of needing a different course, and definitely I've done so many CPD courses over the time, like a knee masterclass or a shoulder this or a spinal course that. It's like I'm going to try and wrap up how to think about treating clients, not just going over individual body parts, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, and I guess at the end of the day, most courses teach you like what to do. Whereas if you think about it, and believe me, there's nothing out there like this that teaches you how to think. So that's why I want to close the gap. That's why I've come up with the Aligned Physio, right? So the next step is simple. If you have made it this far, well done. If it's resonated with you, that's amazing. I'm assuming you're ready to take it to the next level. So to become, that confident physio that we want to be impactful, we want to change people's lives, we want to feel good about what we're doing every day, right? So yeah, I'll get you to book in a call with my team. You'll go over dates and payment options with them, and I look forward to supporting you on the other side. Cheers.